Very good. As I came into this room just a moment ago, the sun was shining in my eyes, and it reminded me of the wonderful nimittas which come up in meditation, brighter than 1,000 suns. And if you haven't got one of those yet, don't worry and think, oh no, I will never get a nimitta. If you want to find out what it's like, just go and have a look in the sun. And that's the next best thing. But the reason those nimittas come up into the mind is just natural. It's just what happens in the meditation. It's nothing to do with your ability or lack of ability. These are things which are going to happen in spite of what you think you can do or what you can't do. Because all that happens, as I've been mentioning so far, present moment awareness and silence, you start to calm down. You don't speak so much, which means you don't think so much. Life is very simple, which means you don't have to make so many decisions. You calm down, you rest, you re-energize your mind so it becomes more aware. As you become more aware, life becomes more delicious. You know, the view of the forest, you appreciate it more. The sound of the birds become more beautiful. Even my jokes become more funny. Maybe. I'm always hopeful. And what happens is you get happier. And this is something which many meditation retreats miss, the happiness factor. People say, oh yes, be mindful, put forth effort, get up early, live simply. But one of the most important factors which give you rise to success in meditation is simple, just joy, happiness. And it's something which I don't know why people in our modern world are afraid of happiness, especially when it gets to religion. It's really crazy. Religious people are supposed to be serious and fierce and harsh. Because I do remember, I did actually used to go to a church when I was young, but I must admit, I only did that because, believe it or not, when I was young, I had a very good voice, and so I sang in the church choir. Believe it or not, I did, honest. You don't believe it, it's true. And I did that, and it was only about 10, 11 years of age, and you were really cute, had a nice voice. And the reason I did that is because there was always lots of weddings on Saturday, and I would always volunteer for the weddings because you get paid. And I came from a really poor house, no pocket money, and that was my little way of getting some money. And it was my money, not from my parents. They didn't know what I was getting, and I could spend it for whatever I wanted. And you're really little cute kid, and I really used that for what it was worth. And these couple getting married, and they're really soft and sweet, and you smile at them, and say, oh, he's so cute. And they give you, it's only half a crown. What was that? It was an eighth of a pound or something. But it was a 16th of a pound. Eighth of a pound. That was a lot of money to a 10-year-old kid, and it was all mine. So that's the only reason I got interested in Christianity. For the money of it. I'm being honest. But I do remember that the church was always cold. They didn't have heaters, they had this stone. This was in England, okay, it's really cold. And there was no upholstery on these hard wooden pews. And if you did hear a sermon from the preacher, it was always about what's going to happen to you in hell. And it was bad enough sitting in the church, let alone going to hell. So with all of that, there was no fun, there's no joy, there's no happiness in it in those days. Maybe it's changed these days. But then sometimes you go to Buddhist retreats. Don't laugh. Be mindful. And it's so fierce. And there's something wrong with that. And again, no exaggeration. When I became a Buddhist, I didn't care Theravada, Mahayana, Vajrayana, Tibetan. I wasn't really interested. I just liked Buddhism. And I would go anywhere there was a good talk, any type of Buddhism, I didn't care. And when I decided to become a monk, I had some experience of the different traditions, and the only reason why I went to Thailand to become a monk, and this was absolutely honest, I've said this before, the Thai monks I knew smiled the most. Please excuse me, the Sri Lankan monks, they were just so sour. They would never smile, never tell a joke. The Zen monks were worse. They would shout at you. And Tibetan monks were up there, they were number 2. But the Thai monks, I don't know, the Thai monks I knew, they were always smiling and happy. And so I thought, if I am going to do something with my life, and I'm going to end suffering, it's supposed to be ending suffering, okay? And so I look at these suffering monks. No, I'm not going to, you don't know what you're talking about. So I was looking for people who are happy. See if they knew that secret. And if they knew that secret, you could see it in their lifestyle, in their demeanour, the way they walked, the way they lived. And so that's why I went to Thailand. And of course, the happiest man I ever saw was Ajahn Brahm. And to see someone who was so relaxed, so light, so could laugh so easily and make other people laugh, that was somebody I thought, well, you had some idea of the joy of the religious life. And I think one of the reasons you come on my retreats, because it's fun. And it's not just fun, there's something even deeper there, but it's part of it, it's fun, it's joyful. You know what it's like sometimes, you get up in the morning, you haven't slept very well, and you got a whole day of meditation in front of you. Oh God, am I going to do this all day? But at least you can come at 8 o'clock and be entertained. You can hang out until the evening and get entertained again. It actually gives you a little bit of a boost. It's a happy path. And this is precisely how it was in the time of the Buddha as well. It was a happy path. That's why that one of my favorite quotes, is that this is a path without groaning, said the Buddha. It's a beautiful, a path without groaning. It's not a heavy, hard path. It's a path where you get lighter, more easygoing, more free, more happiness, the more you progress. So it's something to really look forward to in that sense. If you're going to look forward into the future, you know that the more time you spend here, if you do the third Noble Truth meditation, not the second Noble Truth meditation, want. If you do it properly, you get happier and happier and happier as you meditate. And that becomes what really grabs you. It's what grabbed me. As a young man, this meditation was happy. I was a young man in the 60s, had all these other pleasures were out there for you. And it was like, going to the shop, which pleasure do you want? Rock and roll, girls, drugs, I wasn't really into those. Meditation or money, career. And when I took meditation, that was a really pleasure which I took. And of course I took it, really quite far with this pleasure business. And this is what the meditation should be. A path of pleasure. The pleasure of the mind. And I say this because the Buddha did make it very clear. He said when it gets to the pleasures of the 5 senses, he said, no, those are just rubbish pleasures. But the pleasure of the mind, that is the real sweet pleasure. Now the pleasure of inspiration, the pleasure of peace, the pleasure of living with such good people, kind people who look after you. Now the pleasure of the deep pieces of meditation and the great insights when all these problems tend to fade away. The pleasures of the mind, the Buddha said, are what you should aspire for. And when they come, don't be afraid of them and think there must be something wrong. I'm enjoying myself. You should not be afraid of the pleasures. And indeed, when I mentioned earlier about the story of the Buddha's enlightenment, when the Buddha remembered that experience under the Bodhi tree, under the rose apple tree, where he first got a jhana as a young kid, when he remembered that, he said, Why am I afraid of that pleasure? And that really made it quite clear to me. It wasn't said specifically, but it implicit, that for all those years, since that experience, when he left a home, when he was trying to become enlightened, he always discarded that experience as being too pleasurable, too happy. It can't be anything to do with enlightenment. It's too enjoyable. And that is one of the problems with many people today. They feel if it's enjoyable, if it's fun, you'll get attached and you can't get enlightened that way. When the opposite is the case. When the Buddha realized that that bliss of enlightenment was the path, he said, why should I be afraid of it? I will not be afraid of it. And the Buddha for the rest of his life kept on saying that the pleasures of the mind, the inspiration, when you do a kind, compassionate act, you get happiness. Please cherish that happiness, remember it, don't throw it away, cultivate it. Because the Buddha said, when you are not afraid of that happiness, when you follow it, make much of it, develop it, it leads to Nibbana. It powers the mind to do ever more good, peaceful, kind, generous, good acts. You enjoy it. Sometimes that people often ask, all these people who come every day to feed you, what are they doing that for? They don't get any money when they come and feed you guys. And you may think, okay, feeding the monks and nuns, okay, but feeding you? Why? You go and ask them. And they say, because we enjoy it. We get so much fun. We get so much pleasure of looking after people who are meditating. So they're more than happy to come. And you can see just what amazing food they give to you. And if you think the food here is amazing, just walk over to Bodhinyana and see how many hundreds of people go over there. And there's always, the Anagarikas here will say they always have this big problem every day of all the extra food. They don't know what to do with it. There's much more food than we need. Why do they bring so much? Just because they enjoy it so much. They get so much pleasure of giving, of sharing, of hanging out with really good people. So, that's why they're feeding you. Because they enjoy it so much. And we've encouraged people to cultivate that joy and happiness, to cherish it. So much so that it becomes almost like a party when they come here. They're having such a good... Over Bodhinyana Monastery, it's crazy over there sometimes. It's like, what are you celebrating today? We're just celebrating because it's Monday. Or Tuesday, whatever day it happens to be. Now that is a beautiful part of religion, which I recognise, taught it by Ajahn Chah, and I keep encouraging that. The joy, the happiness of doing good stuff. And when you start to do that, you are empowering your mindfulness. Because I noticed a long time ago, the energy of your mind and its happiness are the same thing. When your mindfulness got energy, you are happy, you are bubbly. When you've got no energy, you're depressed and miserable and grumpy. You know that. If you wake up, you haven't slept very well, you get grumpy at the people in your cottage. Bleh. You snored last night. Bleh. You put on the kettle at 3 o'clock. Bleh. But if you just had a jhana or whatever it was, have a really good meditation, you think, oh, it doesn't matter. I realised you needed a cup of tea at 3 o'clock in the morning. Next time let me know and I'll make you one in bed. You get just so happy and you just cannot be grumpy when you have a happy meditation. So, when you develop that happiness, it takes away a lot of the negativity. In your day, you become much more resilient. You don't worry if the food is not just to your liking or if it's too cold or too hot. Your resilience improves enormously. And you have energy, your mindfulness gets strong, and you're enjoying whatever you are doing. So you meditate, and it's fun to meditate. You're walking meditation, it's fun to meditate. You can even do the kangaroo hop meditation. If you haven't done it yet, you've only got a few days to go. I'm not going to let you go home unless you've done it. And it brings happiness and energy into your meditation. And once you have that, what's called piti sukha, the happiness and joy of the mind, that is an important cause for developing the deep meditations. If you really get lots of happiness in the meditation, you don't need fantasies and plans and bad memories. And you don't need to go thinking. You're just too happy being here. And it's that happiness eventually stops the restless mind. You're just so happy being here. You can't get enough meditation. And actually, you end up getting up really early. You know, it's not as if, oh, I don't want to get up now. Right, yes, half an hour early, that's a half an hour extra meditation. Woohoo! You actually think like that because you're enjoying it and you want more and you just don't want to go to bed at night, you're having too much fun. And you get to that stage which, you know, sometimes at this part of the retreat people think this is impossible. That you'll be meditating and having such fun when it gets to 11 o'clock. No, I'm not eating. And you know you're not going to have anything, you know, past 12 o'clock. You know you're not going to be able to eat in the afternoon or evening or at night time. You know you're going to go hungry for the rest of the day. You're giving up this one chance to eat at 11 o'clock, and you will find, no, I'm enjoying myself. I don't want to get out of my meditation. And you'll meditate right through. And I love when I see people doing that. And the reason I love that because I know you're having just a wonderful time. And I feel so happy for you. That your happiness is so great, you'd rather carry on meditating than go and eat. And for an Asian, that's quite a big thing. It is. Look, I gave a retreat in Penang just last month, you know, for this Buddhist fellowship. And okay, you know, the first part of the retreat, to get people to go there, no way would they, you know, go without their meal in the afternoon or in the evenings. So the first part of the retreat was a 5-precept retreat. So they could eat in the evening. And I thought, okay, eat in the evening. But I didn't realize what that meant. You know what happened? I saw this. They had their breakfast, a big breakfast in the morning. And about 10 o'clock, they had morning tea. It wasn't tea. They had curry puffs, spring rolls, curries, fried rice. It was another meal. And then they had their lunch. And mid-afternoon, of course, afternoon tea. The same again, just I don't know how many curries and rice. And then, of course, they had their dinner in the evening. And then I just, you know, gave the evening talk. And after the evening talk, supper. They went down the road to the food hawkers in Penang to stuff themselves again. It wasn't a meditation retreat, it was an eating retreat. And that's the only food which I knew about. I didn't know what they ordered in their rooms. So, it's really cute. I love you guys. But anyhow, so it's a very good, amazing thing to actually to go without food, and you just don't mind because you're happy. So I'm trying very hard in the retreats I teach to encourage that happiness, and when it comes, for you to cherish it, look after it and care for it, and don't be afraid of it at all. You're getting to, you know, what I call, sometimes I used to call it the delightful breath, the delightful silence, and the beautiful loving kindness. You get a lot of joy cuddling the teddy bear. It actually that's a great way of getting some happiness up. It's good fun to cuddle a teddy bear. It's just really nice. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel happy. It generates some happiness. So what we do, present moment awareness and silence, and then start to see if you can notice a happiness in your mind. Nice, even when you're relaxed. This is one thing which people there's a beautiful pleasure which people don't even notice. Sometimes you're sitting here, my body's really relaxed, it really feels nice. Or when you wake up in the morning, in a nice, warm, comfy bed, then don't get up straight away. Just enjoy the comfort of don't go to sleep either. Your nice, cozy bed, you're relaxed. Notice the delight of a relaxed body. Because this body is, it has lots of aches in it, lots of have to go to the toilet, has to go for a drink of water or something. When it really is relaxed, please enjoy that. It's a free pleasure, a delight which people take for granted. And what that means, if you could do that when you first wake up in the morning, just for a couple of minutes, enjoy just being relaxed in bed, then it means that when you sit down and meditate and the body becomes relaxed, you'll be able to notice that pleasure too. Just sitting here, my legs, I've just got them just right now. My body is reasonably relaxed. It's a beautiful, delightful feeling. It's a feeling of just, less pain, less irritation. It's not totally free of pain and irritation, but it's just really lessened because I just sat down comfortably and I'm not moving around. My body is resting and relaxing. The tiredness, the stress is getting relieved, and it feels very nice. When I notice that pleasure of the body, it's very easy then to let the body go. And I carry that pleasure into my mind. And I have this wonderful sense of pleasure. I'm an abbot, I've got so many stuff I'm supposed to do, so many emails I'm supposed to answer, so many invitations I'm supposed to refuse. I just don't get round to it sometimes, and I don't care. And you know what it's like, people always asking me questions, you go travelling always wanting photographs and stuff like that, signing books, that's my life these days. And then when I go over there at lunchtime, all these people, we came all the way over from Los Angeles to see you. What do you do that for? You can see me on Skype or get a photograph or something. It's really stupid. But I have to do that. But when I sit down and close my eyes, all you guys are gone. Bye-bye. And I'm just, at last, I'm alone, peaceful, just, with my mind and my body. And I value that so much. Just my little cave. No, not the cave over the monastery, the cave here. Close my eyes when I'm at peace. It's so delightful not to have to do anything. Have you got busy lives? A lot of stress, lots of stuff to do? Close your eyes and all that stress, all that busyness is gone. You don't have to do anything. Oh, what joy, what peace, to be free. I cherish and cultivate that joy. I don't take it for granted. When I have the opportunity to be free, I don't waste it planning and thinking what I'm going to do next and say next and stuff like that. I can't waste my time. I haven't got enough of it. So, I sit down, bye-bye, I don't have to give a talk, I don't have to worry about anything. Now I can be totally free, and I enjoy it to the max. What I'm doing, I'm valuing the silence, just really getting off on the present moment. It's a wonderful place to hang out, and it always gives me a lot of pleasure. It's just like when you go to one of your favorite places in the world, and you're back there again, or when you're eating your favorite food, yes. Eating the favorite food of the present moment, the favorite place of silence. Oh yes, give me more. Oh yeah, I can do this. You really get into it. You're actually cultivating the piti sukh, the pleasure of the present moment. Once you start, it just snowballs, because the present moment and silence are intrinsically happy places to be. All your problems are over in the past, and all your anxieties are for the future, and all the worries or thinking. If you can just sort of knock those things on the head, you're free. Nothing to worry about, nothing to do. And it's so pleasurable. It is really why people go on holidays. The reason why they go, to get away from it all, to relax, to have some pleasure. But they just don't know how to go on holiday. They're just, Club Med, more activity. Going to, I said this yesterday just over in the monastery, you go to Singapore, was it here? You go to, people in Perth go to Singapore for shopping, people in Singapore come here and do shopping. And it's absolutely crazy. Just get your shopping out of the way and just be, and have a relax. Or this weekend, it's a long weekend, and that's why I always expect heaps of people this is Monday, we had Friday off, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off, Heaps of people will be at Bodhinyana Monastery for lunchtime. You know why? Because they're bored, so bored they don't know what to do with themselves. They've got all this free time, and so they want to do something. Why do you want to do something? Or they go on holiday, they go down south, they go up north, they go anywhere except be at home. They pay so much money for their house, and they look after it so well, and as soon as they got an opportunity, they run away from it. Isn't it crazy? So where is your most comfortable bed? It's at home, isn't it? Where is the best food? At home. So why can't we enjoy a home? So just stay there and just enjoy the long weekend and do nothing. The trouble is, we don't know how to do nothing. We don't know how to enjoy doing nothing. We've lost our appreciation of the real happinesses of life, of just being here, with the simple things. I remember there's one of my favourite cartoons. There's an Australian cartoonist called Lunig, and he often comes up with some really, really deep but funny cartoons. And one of my favourite ones was of a family in a room watching the TV. And on the TV set there's a picture of a sunset. There's some sort of nature channel, Discovery Channel or something. And a beautiful sunset is on the TV. But on the other half of the frame of the cartoon is the open window where the real sunset is actually happening. And that's just in one cartoon. There's a whole Dhamma talk there. And why is it we have to watch the TV show of the sunset? And it's just right there outside your window. Watch it, enjoy it. Because we don't know where to find our joy. So we always think to have fun, we have to go to entertainment, we have to do something, we have to turn on TV, we have to eat, rather than just be. And you have all the entertainment you could ever want. So after a while, when you start getting mindfulness, you start to be in this present moment, you start to be silent. Silent is such a wonderful place to hang out. It is why after a while you start enjoying this retreat, if you're not already. Don't talk about getting jhanas or getting enlightened, just being here. A nice, peaceful, beautiful place is delightful. Now once you get that delight coming up, it snowballs. And this is part of the meditation. Beautiful body, it's so nice, you can let it go. It's not a problem anymore. It's nothing you need to fix. So okay, body, I can go into my mind. Past and future disappearing, thoughts disappearing, you're just hanging out in this silent present moment, having a great time. You're enjoying it. You're enjoying just being here. And people say, what should I do? Oh look, you're enjoying yourself, don't spoil it. Just hang out there and just enjoying yourself. But is that right? Am I supposed to be enjoying? I'm supposed to be getting enlightened, aren't I? Oh, like forget enlightenment, forget jhanas, just have fun. Enjoy yourself. And then these things happen. Because when you're enjoying yourself, you tend not to do anything. All of the doing comes when you're not satisfied where you are. You're not content. You are not happy to be here. And for most of your life, you'll find that has been driving you from place to place, from experience to experience, from moment to moment, even, you say as a Buddhist, from life to life. Not happy to be here, always wanting to be somewhere else. And that's our life. We're always going somewhere, never being here. That's why I say it's so rare to find human beings. All you ever see is human goings. Always going somewhere. Even when you sit down and meditate, you're still going. You're going to the next stage of meditation. You're going to jhana. You're going somewhere. But we never learn how to be here. We learn how to be here because we're so happy to be here. I'll do the other stuff later on. So here we enjoy the present moment. We enjoy the silence. And that joy just builds and builds and builds. You can see the breathing because there's nothing else to watch. But it's a beautiful breath you're watching. Sometimes people say, they watch the breath, they could only watch 3 or 4 breaths at a time. You boys, if you see a hot girl walking down the street, can you stop yourself looking at her? If you girls see a beautiful guy, can you stop looking at him? one of our members, I better not say who she is, but her first name is Judy. Sorry, Judy. Some of you may know her. She went over to India to see the Dalai Lama, to Dharamsala. Not Dharmasala, but Dharamsala. You know. Dharamsala is where our nuns live. Dharamsala is where the Dalai Lama lives. So they went to see the Dalai Lama. And so, have to make an appointment, stay there for 2 or 3, 4 days. And every morning they have a meditation in some sort of one of the temples. So, being a meditator, you got up early the first day, find a nice place to sit down in the meditation hall and sat down. And only 5 minutes. That's all the meditation she did that morning. Because after 5 minutes, somebody came in and sat next to her. I know, it's just, she was interested, she looked. Richard Gere. Sitting next to me. Oh, come on, watch your breathing. Come on, stop it. Richard Gere. And she couldn't help herself. He had the big film star. This was, a few years ago when he was young and handsome, not old and ugly. Or maybe you girls may think he's still hot or whatever. But anyway, there was a film star, a hot film star sitting next to her. Her meditation was shot all morning. She couldn't help herself because it was attractive to her. And that's basically what happens when the breath starts to get beautiful. You can't take your eyes off it. Wow. Breathing in, oh yeah. Breathing out, oh great. It really becomes a delightful breath. It's not something you do. You say, okay, got present moment awareness. Now I'm going to do the delightful breath. Okay, breath, come on, be delightful. That's what many people do. They try to make it happen. It just happens after a while, everything becomes delightful, and you find you're in the present moment, silence, and then you feel the breath, and it's just really nice. And it gets nicer and nicer and nicer. And you're just watching the breath for hours. And sometimes people get, amazing. Ajahn Brahm, I sat for an hour and a half. I've never done that before. Maybe 15 minutes, half an hour, and I really have to struggle. And that was just so easy. And just watch this beautiful breath go in, beautiful breath go out. Happy as Larry, no problems at all. Exactly, it's the happiness which sticks your attention, your mindfulness onto the object. You try and use force and willpower to stick your attention on any object, you can't do it for very long. It's too unpleasant. If you have strong willpower, maybe you can do it for half an hour, but you get so tight and tense and you get headaches. But if you wait for the happiness to come up, then when the happiness is coming up, it's easy. You're just watching the breath and there's no problem at all. Going in, going out, having a wonderful time. And you think, well, what's the point of that? What do you mean? Should there be a point to having happiness? Or is happiness its own point? Have a think about it and investigate what happiness is. And then the happiness actually gets deeper and deeper. Because you're not doing anything, putting any effort in. It's just happening quite naturally. Because you're letting go, the energy gets stronger and stronger. The breath gets softer and softer. Just science. You don't need so much oxygen because you're not doing so much, which means your breath gets softer, the happiness gets more, the breath gets softer. And you get to this wonderful stage where the breath vanishes. And all you're left with is the happiness. Sometimes it was difficult for me to explain what you experience in meditation and come up with similes. But I remembered one simile which was so perfect for this stage of meditation, and that was Lewis Carroll's simile of the Cheshire Cat. For those of you who remember Alice in Wonderland, not the movie, but the book, Alice saw this cat appear on a tree, and then the cat suddenly disappeared, and then it appeared again. And Alice said, it really gives me a headache, you coming and going so fast. And so the cat said, okay, I'll disappear slowly. So the cat disappeared slowly, little by little. First the tail vanished, and then the legs vanished, and then the body vanished, and so it was just the head. Then the ears vanished, and then the whiskers vanished, and then the head vanished, leaving only the smile. And Alice said, "This is very curious. I've often seen a cat without a smile, but I've never seen a smile without a cat." Just very good use of English language, Lewis Carroll. And so there was happiness without something being happy. The smile without the lips. Now that's what happens. The breath vanishes, but you still got the happiness. Now what is occurring there is your body is gone, at last. And you may not notice this until afterwards. But when you get to those deep happy states, when the breath disappears, actually you're not feeling anything in your body. And that's why sometimes you come out afterwards and, oh, you've got an ache. But while you are there, you can't feel anything. And sometimes you can't even hear sounds. People come up, people go, the gong goes, and you don't even hear it. Because you're very deep inside, happy as Larry. And again, the other senses are just shut off. You can't see, you can't smell, you can't taste, you can't hear, you can't feel your body. Your body has vanished. That is a huge pleasure. And you're having such a wonderful time, you're freed. That is so similar, almost exactly the same, to the pleasures of the near-death experiences. The body's gone. That's why that woman I said last night had a wonderful time. She never wanted to come back. It was too pleasant. And that's what happens when you, in meditation, your five senses vanish. The breath is taking you beyond the senses. And it's one of the reasons why we use the breath, because the breath is like a stepping stone. You know, it's you can't really let go of the breath all in one. Let go of the body all in one go. All the five senses at once. That's just too difficult for most people. So we sort of close our eyes, and that lets go of sight. We meditate in a reasonably peaceful place, but it can never be totally silent. So that the sound can get sort of not so much of a disturbance. We eat well, so we're not hungry, not smelly. Sit comfortably so the body can disappear. But the last thing which disappears is usually the breathing, because it's always moving. But if you could focus on it, and as we focus on it quite naturally, and it's delightful, and eventually that disappears too. And it's usually with the breath disappearing, the stepping stone, we've gone across from the body into the sixth sense, the mind. And that is very beautiful and happy. So what's occurring here is the five senses have vanished, and all you've got left is the sixth sense. This beautiful happiness and peace of just being inside, not having to be disturbed with anything outside. Now that is always a very happy state, simply because a lot of suffering of the body has disappeared. And what happens now? Well, sometimes it happens before, but when it really sort of, you let go of the body, you see these beautiful lights. Beautiful lights. Sometimes the lights come up earlier, but they're not so beautiful, they're not so strong. Yeah, they're there, but they're not the real powerful, oomphy, juicy nimittas. But what happens is just like in the near-death experience, you see this beautiful light. And that's just what happens. So don't worry, I haven't achieved it yet, I'm hopeless. You will eventually, guaranteed. So don't worry about it, you just be peaceful, just do the job, enjoy this moment, develop some more happiness, and then there's more chance of these nimittas arising. Too often when I do meditation retreats, people say, yeah, I can watch the breath, and it gets very peaceful, and the breath disappears, but it's like blackness, darkness, nothing's happening. And that has occurred so many times, for people on these retreats. And I realize it's because you haven't developed enough happiness yet. It's like mindfulness, like energy. You have to develop these states. The oomph of the mind isn't there. There's not enough joy. For some reason or another, the joy tap is there for you to turn on, and you keep turning it off. So cultivate the joy. So smile more. For those of you who have difficulty, and I've told this to many people, exercise. In the morning, do your 20 push-ups. Do you do 20 push-ups in the morning? And some people say, I've got a bad back, I've got bad legs, I'm over 70. That's not what I mean, like the ordinary push-ups you do in the army. This is Buddhist push-ups. Fingers, edge of the mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do a full set of 20. You need to exercise your smiling muscles. I teach people to do that, especially the miserable ones. I force them in front of the mirror. Right, give me 20. As I said in the army. And they do that, and eventually they start laughing at themselves. They don't take themselves so seriously, and they exercise those muscles. It means it's easier for them to get happy in the meditation. And when you start getting happy in the meditation, you're boosting the energy of your mind, which means that when the breath does disappear, mind has got oomph, it's got energy, the lights actually come up. Now, the reason why the nimittas don't come up for many people is just the batteries are dead. So the lights aren't on. And this is actually how to charge up those batteries, the happiness batteries. And then when it actually comes, you can see this beautiful light. And of course, when those things come up, I'll give maybe a talk tomorrow, what to do with those nimittas. That's my speciality. That's why people come from other countries to get some advice on nimittas. And I can tell you how to get those nimittas, how to work with them and enjoy them and get them brighter and just nice and stable and beautiful and wow. And that's where you really have some great fun in these meditation retreats, when you get the nimittas and you start messing around with those. And if you think you've had fun so far, the best is yet to come. That's going to blow you away. Because what's happening here, you've just got your mind right in front of you and you're boosting it with energy and happiness and joy. And this is where amazing things start to happen to you. Sicknesses in the body get zapped away. And this is serious stuff now. Sometimes people say, oh, you're just too light-hearted, it's not serious enough. This is where cancers get zapped away. I told that story, the first few days of that guy with the eczema all over his body, zapping that away. You've seen amazing stuff happen in meditation retreats, especially when you get to that nimitta stage. You've got some energy, you've got some power. Sometimes you can feel that. It's enormous mental power. And this is brilliant, bright nimittas which come up. And they're just so happy. So you come afterwards and think, wow, this is just beautiful, having a wonderful time. And that happiness is brilliant for you and it's brilliant for others, brilliant for your health. People actually start to wonder what the hell you've been doing on this retreat. They always think it's drugs. They do. Because in our society, that's the only thing they think can give you that type of happiness. And some of the anecdotes, I remember this guy, he was here about a year ago, and poor fellow was a heroin addict, and he really gave it a good shot, trying to come to our monastery to kick the habit. And he came so close, but the problem is if you have an addiction like that, you have to say no every minute, and you only have to say yes once, and you're back to where you started. It's such a terrible, terrible thing to try and do. But he was getting really, really somewhere. And I remember I was going off to our Nolamara centre on Friday afternoon, going to my hut to get ready, and he ran after me up the path to stop me. He said, look, actually, I have got to tell you this. And he was really so bright-eyed. He said, yeah, I've heard you tell all this time about these nimittas and the jhanas which come next, as a bliss better than sex. But he says, I'm a heroin addict. Sex is nothing compared to heroin. And that's why people get addicted to the stuff. Even the best orgasm, heroin is way, way more enjoyable apparently. But he said, I never thought I'd say this. Those nimittas are even better than heroin. It's amazing experiences. And that's there for you on this retreat. The bliss better than heroin. Which is better than sex apparently. Which is better. Some people can really get into this. Now, are you interested? Of course you are, because whether you like it or not, you might say, no, I'm not attached to pleasures. No, but you are. You would go and seek it. But the point is, seek those pleasures which lead to something useful. And when people say the obvious question, if I didn't say this now, you'd be writing it down for this evening Q&A. Won't we get attached to those pleasures? Aren't they dangerous? Aren't we supposed to not have any attachments at all? And there is a teaching of the Buddha, and it's in the Pasadika Sutta. And I always quote this. Someone asked the Buddha that. These pleasures of meditation, won't you get attached to them? And the Buddha said, yes, you will. And he said, but when you get attached to the pleasures of meditation, there's only 4 possible results. Only 4, not 5, not 3. And the results of being attached to the pleasures of meditation are stream winning, once returning, non-returning, or full enlightenment. That's the only possibilities when you get attached to the pleasures of meditation. Those are the 4 stages of enlightenment. So that's what he was saying. That's what happens to anybody who gets attached to the bliss of enlightenment. Not a bad deal, eh? You get enlightenment, enjoy it at the same time. So this is what the Buddha said. So this is how I teach this way. You get that joy and that happiness coming up in this meditation. You cultivate it. Now, sometimes it's not happening, okay? So this is one of my skillful means which I developed, and it's so easy and it's so effective. You know, sometimes you're meditating and you're getting a bit dull, nothing's really happening. Yeah, you can see the breath, but it's, you know, sort of okay, but not that beautiful. Take your attention away from whatever's happening inside. Put it on your mouth and smile. If you can't make a smile, fake one. And it's incredible how powerful that is. So, you know, I'm meditating there, you must be a bit dull, a bit tired or whatever. And yeah, you can watch your breath and nimitta hasn't come up. Yeah, what's going on? I take my attention away from my breath, put it on my face, smile. And that gives that, like lighting a match on tinder dry forest. Just light a match, a little smile, and then the happiness starts to come up. And that's all it really takes. You're just, you know, just turning the attention to look for a bit of happiness when you smile. And when you physically smile, it does get the emotion of happiness inside as well. And that emotion of happiness, now my breath is beautiful, and then it just takes off all the way. Just a tiny smile. So that's one of the reasons why Ajahn Brahm, you know, you don't teach us about posture. You know, the Tibetans say you've got to put your hands like this. Some people say it has to be together to complete the circle. Sometimes you have to be in full lotus. Some people say you have to have your back straight and your head tucked in. Well, if I have my back this way off, punched over, can I still get into deep meditation? Because I've got a really bad back. And I can't sit like this. You know, is it too much pain? Do I have to endure pain to get into jhanas? The only part of your posture which I insist upon, I don't care how you got your legs, I don't care how your back is, I don't care how your head's on one side or whatever it's doing. The only important part of your posture is this. For goodness sake, smile. And if you're smiling when you're meditating, that's good posture. And it works. That's why I can tell if someone's having a good meditation. Just look at your face. And you see other people like that. When you come out of meditation, some people will be sitting there for hours, look at their face, and they've just got this big, not a big smile, but you know, a beautiful smile on their face. Just like the Buddha sometimes has a smile on his face. That is a smile of deep meditation. Perfect posture. So this is learning how to generate, develop and cherish the happiness, you know, in your meditation. It's going to come anyway. Once it starts, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And when you do get into those jhanas, they are actually the objects of your meditation. People say, well, what are you watching in the jhana? You're watching bliss. That's your object. The lights have long gone. All you got left is this beautiful bliss and happiness. And if you think you know what happiness is, you ain't seen nothing yet. Sometimes in this, we mentioned it earlier, When you go into that light in near-death experience, people see this beautiful love. That's only the first jhana. That's why people, a lot of times people, they think that's the ultimate. But there's much bigger stuff than the ultimate. This is one of the things you would experience when you go into these deep meditations. You think that it can't be anything more beautiful, more loving, more perfect. This is the ultimate. And then you hang out there for a while, and then you get something which is ultimately more profound than the ultimate. You go to another stage, the second jhana, and you think, wow, there can't be anything more profound than this. And after a while, you get into a third jhana. It's just like you climb a mountain peak and you think this must be the highest. And then, from there you see another mountain peak which is even more delightful. Bliss upon bliss upon bliss. That's a path of meditation. When you let go of will, craving, wanting things, suffering ends. When suffering ends, you have happiness. More letting go, more happiness. More letting go, more happiness. So you really get into this letting go business. It's the best fun you'd ever have in your life. And this is what's going to happen to you. Woohoo! Okay, I think I've done enough about the happiness meditations now. So, have a great time. But remember, if you expect something now, or if you want something, yes, I'm going to go for it now. I'm going to bliss out. I want the bliss better than heroin. Wanting will stop you. That'll be suffering, yeah. So only when you let go of all wanting, you sit here, just happy to be here, present moment, appreciating what you have. If you want something more, you can't enjoy what you already have. What you have already is more than enjoyable enough. So just get into it. Okay, so have a happy morning, and we have some